Your higher self is a very important part of you, and it appears as a golden chakra point about 2 feet above the physical head. This is your higher self point. Now, you can think of this as sort of an 8th chakra. We have the famous 7 chakras, but this is above all of them. And it's working for you 24 hours a day. The light, the love, the wisdom, all that's flowing from the divine source is first passing through this higher self point to reach your auric field and to reach you. It's a beautiful golden chakra, and it has these many, many radiations of golden white threads of light. And depending how much we've been accessing and working and cooperating with our higher self, these power rays will get even stronger and stronger and stronger. So as you're developing yourself, developing your aura, developing your character, developing your soul, you are strengthening the higher self part of you. Now, this is an actual state of consciousness. The chakras, all of them, are seats of consciousness and awareness, but also ways of receiving and distributing spiritual power. They are sort of nuclei, if you want to call it, of the auric field and all of its variety. And that higher self is a very key component as a link between the divine source itself and our immersed self, our soul here in the physical world. That higher self point, shall we say, is the ambassador of the divine light and the divine love and the divine wisdom. So why is it above the head? Why isn't it in the auric field or in the mind or kind of all around us? Why 2 feet above the head? Because by being outside the auric field, it can be of much greater help to us. Our aura is sort of contained in an auric shell, and there are energies that move beyond that shell and kind of in and out of it, but the core auric energies are within this auric shell and framework. And this is part of what we call the immersed self. The soul is immersed in the physical life and the activities of physical life, and all these auric energies are engaging in the life here as we know it, and that's what we're calling sort of our human aura, all contained within this beautiful shell-like structure and all of its variety and all that it does. But that also means our happiness, our frustrations, our joys, our sorrows, that's all in this aura here. So for most of us, the auric field is what we call a mixed aura. It has some very beautiful energies in it, very beautiful qualities, and it has some not so beautiful qualities within it, things that we're trying to redeem, shall we say. If I'm angry, if I'm upset, if I'm worried, if I'm afraid, if I'm scared, if I'm lonely, if I'm sad, if I'm grieving, whatever's going on with me right now will reflect in the auric field. And that means that there is this energy kind of sea that we're in right now, and it's not always clear. Let's say I might be a little confused about something, not sure about something right now. There could be a little confusion in the mental part of my aura. This is all part of the human nature and all the part that we're trying to work through. Our beautiful higher self is not part of that directly. By being outside the auric shell, it stays above all the dynamics, all the confusions, whatever might be going on in our life right now, so it can keep its divine perspective, but it's still very close to us, and it's very aware, shall we say, of what's going on with us. But staying in that more, shall we say, pristine place gives it a perspective it otherwise would not have. A way to think about this is like a satellite in space, or a satellite orbiting the Earth. Okay, if there was a deep signal coming from deep space, if it had to go straight to the, say, receiving station on Earth, it has to what? It has to pass through the atmosphere. And that means it has to deal with all the atmospheric conditions, which can distort the signal. But if it first is signaled to a satellite in space, then the satellite beams it down to the receiver on Earth. That's a much cleaner signal. Another example of this is the famous Hubble telescope. Oh my God, look how our picture of the universe has changed because of the Hubble telescope. And what's the biggest difference? This telescope is outside the Earth's atmosphere. So it's able to pick things in a way up that we weren't able to see before. Your higher self is doing the exact same thing. It is staying in that divine, perpetual state of consciousness. And it is not getting whirled up in the troubles of our day-to-day life, yet it's able to help us navigate through those because it never loses its divine perspective. Your higher self is always in that higher state of consciousness. It's always in that perpetual connection, which means its guidance and direction will always steer you in the right way if, of course, we're listening to it. So this brings up the question, well, how do we access this higher part of us? If it's in this divine state of consciousness perpetually, I want to be in tune with it. Well, you already are receiving from it. Every day, we are quickened and receive from that divine part of us. The inspirations, the guidance, the direction, all that is coming from, or I should say through, the higher self. But the question is, are you listening to it? So the first thing we have to understand here is the higher self is not a servant. It's not here to service our whims. It's part of the divine fabric of life. And it's trying to help us live our highest, most noble life, the reason we came to this earth, in a sense, to fulfill the purpose that we came here to do. And that's the direction we need to steer ourselves in, and we need to align with the higher self so that we can better receive from it. And an important starting point is humility. Look, if we get a little too full of ourselves or too self-engrossed in our cares, let's start with that one. If we're too self-engrossed in the cares of our life, where are we? We're in the cares and problems and issues of our life. Well, if I'm trying to solve a problem in my life right now, and I'm focused on the problem, and I'm immersed in the problem, well, I'm not in the realm where what? The solution is. So what I need to do is get into neutral, get out of that immersion of where I'm in right now, and raise my consciousness to get into that higher self part of me. To what? To listen. To listen to the divine, whatever it is telling you or inspiring you. It's still our own free will. We're going to decide what we're going to do in our life. But we're trying to, out of our free will, align more beautifully with divine will, with the divine flow of life itself. Then things move in a beautiful and exciting and exalted way. So here we have to be careful when we approach the higher self. Yes, with humility, but also what? With reverence. And understanding that this is an extraordinary part of ourselves that has that higher perspective. And what we don't want to do when we approach the higher is to try to condition it or trick it, if you want to call it that. For example, let's say I am interested in somebody romantically, and I'm trying to figure out, well, how can I bring this person into my life? Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Or should I do that? I've got different options, and maybe I go into prayer about that. And I try to access my higher self and ask, well, what should I do? X, Y, or Z? Well, you may be laughing already as I'm even saying this. What's the problem with the way I just expressed that? I've conditioned the question. I'm determined to get this person, and what I'm trying to do is force the higher, so to speak, to try to tell me which will make the most successful outcome. But that's not really putting it in the hands of the higher, because what if this person isn't meant for me? What if I'm barking up, as they say, the wrong tree? So I have to leave myself open to everything. This is what it means by putting something on the altar of the divine or on the altar of God. We're not making our higher nature a servant. This isn't tell me what to do. This is help me to understand what's going on in a way so that I myself will simply know what is the right way to go. So if there is somebody I'm interested in, I have to start much broader and say, is this person meant for me? Is this the best person in my life right now? You know what's in the desire of my heart. I would like this to be. But we know many times when we're interested in someone, that person's not interested in us, or it isn't a good match. So we have to leave those options. The actual full name of this point, the full esoteric name, is the higher self point of spiritual knowing, and the knowing of how we know. So the higher self knows. This means that we always should be seeking truth. Many times in our life, we're saying, well, what do I want? Well, of course, you have to attend to your needs and where your desires are. But if you're trying to really cooperate with the greater process of life, the better question to ask is, how can I best serve today? Make it an open thing where you're really contributing in the bigger process of life. Now, another key element of your higher self point is it's not working alone. You have to think of your higher self like a living presence, this point of light. But it's more than that. It's a point of consciousness. But it's also a contact point for the realms that lie beyond it, for the divine ones that lie beyond it, for all the true source of where inspiration comes from, so it filters through the higher self to get to you. Now, the beautiful thing is that connection between the divine source and the higher nature, that nothing can touch that. That's a set-up situation. And even if we're making the worst mistake in the world, that higher self is still connected to the divine source, still trying to lead us in the right direction. But again, the question is, are we listening down here? So I think the best way to think of your higher self is like an incredible partner, part of the team. You are still making your own decision. Your soul is here in the physical world, making the decisions of life. You're forging your spiritual metal here in the physical world, and all the dynamics and everything that's going on is part of that experience. But you have this amazing partner. And when we get that higher self connection so strong, the link between the two is very seamless. One of the greatest of all mystical aphorisms and teachings from the ancient world is that sacred teaching, as above, so below, as below, so above. Meaning when that higher nature is reflected in your lower nature, and your lower nature is the beautiful mirror of your higher nature, then you have truly reached that spiritual maturity that you seek. So in concluding this, remember, you are on this amazing spiritual pilgrimage to become more and more spiritually aware, more and more spiritually heightened in your sense of things. And your higher self is a key element of how that's all happening. So as you are reaching in more through humility, through supplication in a sense, connecting with the higher self, embodying what is giving you, you are raising your consciousness, raising your awareness into more beautiful spiritual heights. I thank you. If you want to learn more about metaphysics and your spiritual evolution, check out our website, spiritualarts.org. And please subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.